Today, what was the top tech story of the last 12 months? Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Morning, Michael.
Good morning, Adam Lang.
Good morning, Michael.
Okay, in the next 5 minutes, we are each going to put forward what we think was the top technology story from the last year, and afterwards, we are going to decide who wins. Sean, would you like to start us?
I will start because this is the winning story. I'm at the top of the podium already. If we hadn't had COVID...
Your confidence is extraordinary.
Absolutely. If we hadn't had COVID, much of the year, we would have been talking about cybercrime, cybersecurity, cyber hacking. Easily the biggest tech story of the year. There have been thousands of stories throughout the year of cyber hackers, often out of foreign agents such as North Korea or Russia, hacking into organisations and holding for ransom information and data. It is a huge story. In the middle of the year, 1,000 companies were hit in one cyber attack. Now, the type of cyber crime has evolved. It's gone from opening an email to service providers actually being hacked and via updates infecting their clients' systems. Cyber attacks cost $3.5 billion per financial year. Well, that's the latest estimate, but I'm sure it's much more than that. Nine was hit, Toll Holdings was hit, JBS Meats was hit. In fact, a massive US pipeline along the east coast of the US was closed down as a result. The sad thing is that many of the companies are actually paying the ransoms because it's the best way to actually get their data back. Cyber hacking, not only the biggest story of 2021, it'll be the biggest story of 2022 in the tech space. There you go. Michael.
Yeah, you know what? I reckon that's not a bad story. And the reason why I like that one is because you're not just talking about big companies. That can affect any company, any business of any size.
Absolutely.
Really, nobody is immune to that.
Absolutely.
Look, I obviously just mentioned small companies. I'm going to go as far the other way as I can possibly get for this story.
Okay.
Because I think the top tech story of the last 12 months is the growth of big tech. Because these companies have all been hitting milestones in the last 12 months. 3 companies broke through the $2 trillion mark. Apple was first, then Microsoft, then Alphabet, the parent company of Google. In the $1 trillion range, you've got Amazon, Tesla, and Facebook. And it's amazing when you think that 3 or 4 years ago, none of them were even worth $1 trillion. And now Apple, we're talking about $3 trillion. That is just huge growth. And speaking of Facebook, I really should have actually said Meta because the parent company underwent a name change back in October. It shifted the focus from what is a pretty controversial social media platform at times and moved it towards Mark Zuckerberg's dream of the metaverse, which is an entirely digital world. And really, I don't think any of us had even talked about Meta or the metaverse prior to that change. And now it seems to be a fairly frequent topic of conversation. But really, these are big companies, really big growth, the biggest tech story of the last 12 months by far, just because of the phenomenal rate of growth and the massive amounts of money we're talking about.
The rise and rise of big tech undoubtedly was pretty amazing in 2021. I'm not conceding yet. Adam, what's your top tech story?
Mine is our government's fight with this ever-growing big tech. So in the digital age, technological change has been so swift and international that companies and countries are barely able to keep up. And we've just heard Michael talk about some of them, and you too, Sean. Some of those tech companies have become competitive friends, some of them enemies, some frenemies. Along the way, such companies as Google and Facebook and the big media companies in Australia have definitely been more enemies and frenemies than anything. Google and Facebook would feature the content of media companies, which helped them get exposure for the content, but it also took audiences away from the media companies and from needing to pay for them in terms of advertising and subscriptions. In February this year, the Australian government was the first internationally to force these players together, big tech and media, to negotiate under the threat that if they didn't get a deal done, the government would be deciding the mechanism for them. So Facebook threatened to leave Australia and turned off its news feeds for 24 hours before things eventually got to the negotiating table. And now money is actually flowing between the big tech and the media companies. And then right at the tail end of the year, the government then stepped in again, this time to propose new legislation to force social media to reveal the identities of trolls and bullies, or it will face defamation proceedings. So around the world, our government has driven the biggest technology story of the last 12 months.
It's a pretty good contribution. Michael, I'm going to suggest that Adam or I should win this, so I think you should choose who.
Oh, well, I was going to pick myself, but that's okay. I will choose one of the other two. The reason I'm going to pick Adam's story is because Australia is really going to lead the world on this and has the potential to set a really important precedent right across the globe. So, Adam, I think it's yours today.
Well done, Adam.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you both very much. That's it for today. Make sure you've hit follow or subscribe on the podcast. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was The Fast Five by Fear and Greed.